Hello humans, it's just Martine, and today I'm here to share a special announcement with you. I'm here today to announce round 1 of the Heartstopper Readathon. I've been thinking about and planning this for months, and it's finally time to share it with you, and I could not be more excited. I've even got my Charlie Spring sweater on, I've got my flag in the background, we're ready to go. I've got my document up. So round 1 of the Heartstopper Readathon will be taking place in February of 2023, the whole month long, so from the 1st to the 28th. And the theme of this one is like a character builder type thing. You are the animator in essence. Sorry, Alice Oseman, you're out of a job this month. All these lovely people are going to be animating your characters for you. There are 2 possible ways to win this readathon. The first is with a bingo board option. You just need to get a 3 in a row, although a blackout would be cool. The other option is with an individual character profile, where you need to complete all 3 prompts for the character to win. So either way, basically, the minimum number of prompts you need to succeed at this readathon, even though that's a fake construct, is 3. But the good news is that my rule for double ups is that you can triple up a book for prompts. So you can use 1 book to fit 3 prompts, but no more. I feel like 3 is already a lot. So you could get a 3 in a row with 1 book, or you could get a whole character with 1 book. And technically, I calculated it. If you plan very carefully what you're going to read for this, you could get every single prompt with just 9 books. In order to count a character on the bingo board, you have to complete 1 of their individual character profile prompts, but to get the actual character profile, you need all 3 prompts. There are prompts for 8 of the main characters. These are the graphic novel characters, not the TV characters, so Isaac is not included. Love him dearly. I'll use him in a future readathon round for sure because his whole thing is reading, but for right now, we're just focusing on the graphic novel characters. So we have prompts for Charlie and Nick, obviously Tao and Elle, Tara and Darcy, Aled, and Tori. And then on the bingo board, we have a leaf prompt because I needed an extra prompt slot. I didn't want to give it to you for free, although with the ease of that prompt, it's basically free. Before I jump into each character's set of prompts, I'll tell you the leaf prompt: read a book with LGBTQIA+ rep. Told you it was a simple one. I was like, quintessential Heartstopper, queer, leaves. So the leaf prompt is a queer book. Let's go through individual character prompts. We'll start off with my main man, Charlie Spring. I feel like this sweater is a very Charlie Spring sweater, which is why I'm wearing it today, regardless. So the 3, they're not traits, but the 3 things about Charlie that you need to collect are his Converse, his drumsticks, and his dimples. The prompt for Converse is to read a timeless classic because Converse are a really timeless, iconic shoe. You can take timeless classic to mean whatever you want it to mean. So it could be an actual classic, or it could be something that's only classic to you, like one of your childhood favorites, or it could be something that somebody who's older than you in your family really loved reading, like your grandma or grandpa's favorite book, or your mom or dad's favorite book. You could also think about doing a retelling because it's a twist on a classic story. So lots of ways to interpret this prompt. You do you. Just read a timeless classic. For the drumstick prompt, you're going to want to read a book that made a crash. There are 2 main ways to think about this. One is a book that got a lot of hype, and the other is a book that crashed and burned, so got bad reviews. You could also combine those 2 ideas. For a book that really crashed, it had lots of hype, and then it didn't live up to that hype. But again, you do you. These prompts are really flexible. And 3, for dimples, read a book that will make a dent in your TBR. If you do not have a monthly TBR, like a TBR game or something where you set books that you have to read, making a dent in your TBR will be about something you own, an audiobook, ebook, or physical book that you own. Reading that will be making a dent in your owned TBR. If you do have a TBR game or something, so you have specific reads you have to get to each month, read one of those, count it for sure, because that's making a dent in your monthly TBR. Anything that makes a dent in your TBR, read it. Next up, Nicholas Nelson. For Nick Nelson, you're going to want to collect his Vans, a rugby ball, and a bubblegum milkshake. For the Vans prompt, read a book that has been around the block. You can see how it will be easy to triple up some of these prompts because they're very related. A book that has been around the block is also likely a timeless classic. Wink, wink. In my notes for this that I'll include in the description down below for the Google Drive, I said that this doesn't just refer to when it was published, publication date. Sure, it's been around the block if it has an old publication date, but it has also been around the block if it's a TBR veteran for you. read it. For rugby ball, you're going to read a book that features sports. Sports don't even have to be the main plot line. It could just mention a sport briefly, it counts. If the main character plays sports, that counts. If the love interest plays sports, it counts. If a character used to play sports, it counts. If it briefly mentions that it's football season, it counts. And I'll go ahead and say any book that features a competition of any kind counts. For bubblegum milkshake, you're going to want to read a book that is someone else's favorite. So any book that someone else you know read and loved. To count as this prompt, the person either has to claim it as one of their favorites, like it has to be on somebody's favorites list, or somebody said, this is one of my favorite books, or they can give it a 5 stars on Goodreads, or any site like Goodreads. Like Storygraph, they give it a good rating, sure, go for it. But like, you know what I mean. You get what I'm saying. I'm so silly and I already packed my beanie to go home, so I don't have it, but I would have put it on because let's go over Tao's prompts. For Tao, you're going to want to collect a beanie, a film poster, and a shoe potato. Now a shoe potato is technically a reference to the show, but we're gonna let it go, okay? We're letting it go. For beanie, read a book at the top of your TBR. So that's any book that you've been really excited to read, a book club book for the month that you really need to squeeze in, a library loan that's due soon, just a certain book that's been looking really good to you lately. All of those, they count for the beanie prompt. For film poster, you're going to want to read a book with an adaptation. So this can go 2 ways. Either it is an adaptation from a different source material or it has been adapted to another source material. So technically, like if you've watched the movie version of Hairspray and then you read the book that is based on the movie version of Hairspray, that would count. But you could also read a book that then became a movie, like Ready Player One. It can be any type of adaptation, a movie, a TV show, a play, a musical. So for instance, one book that would get you the leaf prompt and this is Absolute Brightness. A play was written based off of it and it's queer. So just throwing ideas out there. And then for shoe potato, read a book with an illustration on the cover. It could be all the cover that's illustrated, part of the cover. It could have an alternate cover in a different country or a different edition that has illustrations on it, whatever. Just at some point, somewhere, there's been some level of illustration on the cover of this book. Let's talk about L's prompts. For L, you're going to want to collect glasses, apple juice, and paints. I got that in the wrong order, but we'll pretend like I didn't. For glasses, read a book that will give you a new perspective. One of my favorite things about reading is seeing the world through the eyes of somebody totally different than you. So use this prompt to read a book that gives you insight into a person who is not like you. Some thoughts or recommendations for this are like own voices books for groups to which you do not belong, nonfiction about a topic you aren't familiar with, etc., etc. Just something that'll give you a new view. For paints, read a book featuring art. This is very much the same as the rugby ball prompt for Nick in that art can be anywhere in it. Anything at all, big or small part of it, and it could be any art. Technically, L does visual art, but any of the arts in the book, use it. And you know what? You should double it up on a prompt later. Just saying. So things like the main character is a painter or a photographer or a dancer. It counts. The story just revolves around a particular photograph. Sure, just featuring art in some way. And then for the apple juice prompt, read a comfort read. You decide what a comfort read means to you. Is it rereading an old favorite? Is it a trope that just makes you warm and fuzzy inside? Your favorite genre, your favorite author? Go wild. Sky's the limit. Just something that would feel good to you. For Aled's prompts, you're going to want to collect pink hair, a microphone, and a ladybird, or as we call them here, a ladybug. For pink hair, you're going to want to read a book that got a new look. This is any book that got a new cover design at some point. Doesn't matter which edition you read, just it had a different cover sometime somewhere, got a new cover design, or was even re-edited. For microphone, read an audiobook. Any book, just as long as it's an audiobook. And then Ladybird, read a book that you spotted in the wild. So you didn't get the recommendation from the internet. So either somebody you know in real life gave you the recommendation, you just saw it for the first time while browsing through the bookstore, anything, as long as it wasn't an online recommendation. For Tara's prompts, you're going to want to collect sheet music, hair clips, and Instagram. Sheet music is the prompt that I was saying, a book that features art, you might want to double up on something later. And that's because for sheet music, you want to read a book that features music. Music of any kind, to any extent. A book with a band, that counts. The main character plays a cello but then ends up in a coma, that counts. It makes obscure references to music from days gone by, it counts. For hair clips, read any book that you've been holding back from reading. So like a TBR veteran, an intimidating read, a potential unhaul victim, a book that you've seen bad reviews for. Just something's been holding you back from reading it, but this is your chance to read it now. And then for Instagram, read a Bookstagram fave. So you can do this even if you don't have an Instagram. Just type in like Bookstagram, scroll through some photos, see what people are liking on Bookstagram. If people could also leave some of Bookstagram's favorite books in the comments down below, that would help other people make their decisions. Let's talk about Darcy's prompts. My sweet little bee. To collect Darcy, you're going to want to collect a tie-dye hoodie, a Monster Munch, and a trumpet. For a tie-dye hoodie, you're going to want to read a book with multiple colors on the cover. So for this, what I mean by multiple colors is at least 3 colors. So if it has black, white, and red, it counts. But the more, the merrier. If you end up reading a book that only has 2 colors on it, but it has an alternate cover that has more than 2 colors on it, sure, count it, whatever, go for it. Go wild. For Monster Munch, read a book that features friendship. This could be a friends to lovers trope. This could be a book about a new kid going to school and finding new friends. You could read a very specific book about a pig who becomes friends with a spider. You know, these are all things about friendship and they count. It can even be about like the end of a friendship. And then for trumpet, read a book under 300 pages. Because 100 pages for each of the 3 main buttons on a trumpet. Yeah, so less than 300 pages, read it. For Tori, you're going to want to collect a Tumblr blog, Diet Lemonade, and a haircut. For Tumblr blog, read a book that was published in the 2010s, so from 2010 to 2019. For Diet Lemonade, read a genre or trope that you cannot get enough of. Because Tori's always drinking Diet Lemonade, can never get enough of Diet Lemonade. So any genre or trope you cannot get enough of, maybe even an author. Every book this author writes hits for you, read it for Diet Lemonade. Alternatively, you could view it as a book that you're really in the mood for right now, so like a mood read. And then for haircut, I think this is the hardest prompt out of all of them. Read a sequel that is shorter than the first book. So this could be a companion book, a legit sequel, a novella in the same series, just as long as it's shorter than the first book in the series. So imagine you're reading the Shatter Me series right now, but you read one of the novellas from later on in the series. Yeah, that counts for the haircut prompt. You see where we're going here? Cool. Because the length is shorter, like you cut the length like a haircut. Yeah. So here's what the bingo board looks like. Just get a 3 in a row. You're good to go. Try to black it out if you want. There are all these graphics with each individual character's prompts. You can use any of them, all of them, whatever. I'll have all the information in a Google Drive linked down below. And I also have a Discord for this readathon since there will be multiple rounds over time. I already know what I'm doing for round 2. And I'll also put the Twitter down below where I'll continue making announcements and things like that during the readathon. So that's all the information. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them below. I hope you'll decide to join me in the month of February to celebrate Heartstopper and build some of my favorite characters. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. Do you already know who you're going to read prompts for, or are you going to do the bingo board? Are you going to join us for a future round? Let me know. And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!